Good afternoon, everyone, and all of you in the chamber and watching on live stream, and welcome to this Invercargill City Council meeting. Before I start, I've been warned that I should ask you to make sure your microphones are pulled up very tight because we've got a show going on next door, and I don't know if there's any hard rock bands or anything like that, but I don't think so, but we might struggle to hear, so please put your microphones up, or we won't hear you, but we'll hear the band next door. So we have no Zoom attendees at the moment. We will do fairly shortly, but we don't at the moment. We have apologies from Councillor Ludlow and Mayor Clark. Will somebody move that we receive those?
I'll move that way.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against, carried. Does anyone have a declaration of interest they wish to make? No? Okay. We have no public forum today. So we'll begin with the minutes of the meeting of council held on 28th of May. Will someone move that we receive those?
Move that way.
Thank you, Leslie. And Grant. Is there any discussion around those? And if not, I'll put that we receive those. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We have the minutes of the Community Wellbeing Committee held on the 11th of June. Will someone move that we receive those? Thank you, Trish, and seconded by Barry. Any discussion of those? And if not, then all those say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We have the meeting of the extraordinary council meeting. Oh, sorry, I missed the minutes of the council meeting held on 28th of May. Will someone move that we receive those?
Yeah.
Thank you, Grant. Seconded by Steve. Any discussion of those? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Right. You've got minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 11th of June.
I'll
Will
move
someone
those.
move that receive those? Thank you, Leslie. Seconded by Barry. Any discussion of those? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We have the minutes of the Finance and Project Committee meeting held on the 18th of June.
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
Okay, thank you, Grant. Will someone second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
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 Against? Carried. So we are just going on 3 o'clock, should we? 10 minutes? Okay. So the reason that Michael and I were talking there is that we are going to be joined by Susan Freeman Green, Chief Executive Officer of Local Government New Zealand. She's going to join us about 10 past, but I'll jump over that at the moment, and we'll take the midterm review, changes to council committees. So this is in the Mayor's name. So just to remind you that at the beginning of this triennium, Mayor Clark, as is his role, nominated the how the council committees would be structured, and also what the chairs of those committees would be. At that time, he intimated that halfway through the triennium, he intended to review those and review both the structure and the chairs of those committees. On the 14th of this month, Mayor Clark issued an email to everyone saying that what the structure would look like for the second half of the triennium, and in accordance with standing orders, it's required that a paper comes to the following a council meeting which tables those changes, if there are any, but tables those changes, and also at the same time brings the Tim's reference of the new committees. So this is a paper that we have in front of us. So will someone move that we receive? All of them is for receiving
I will.
and for noting. Okay, thank you, Barry. Will someone second? Trish? Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noted that in this report, and obviously in the governance statement as well, it has me listed as the Local Government New Zealand link, as though the Mayor has appointed me as this. This is actually has got nothing to do with the Mayor or our governance policy. I was elected nationally by mayors, chairs and elected members across New Zealand to Local Government New Zealand, not by this council or the Mayor, and so I think that that actually needs to be removed.
Okay. Okay, would you change the words then, Alex, or are you happy with the words? You're just clarifying the point.
I don't think it belongs in our governance statement because it's not actually our governance jurisdiction.
Okay. Okay, so we can remove that if you wish.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Pottinger.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I would expect the Mayor to be here to deliver this since it says it is his review. And in my opinion, the actual report on its own is very light on detail and substance to answer a lot of questions about how things came about. Now, with the Chair's indulgence, I would like to ask him if he would defer this for a month so that the Mayor, and this is only for a month, to the next council meeting, which the Mayor will be back for, to defer it so that he can be here in person to answer those questions.
So I appreciate, Councillor, that you did give me notice of that question. So I have looked at standing orders. As you know, I'm sure there's nothing in that requires that the Mayor personally delivers this paper. The thing I would add too is that the Mayor consulted me throughout developing this, so I'm pretty aware of what sits behind it, and I'm certainly happy to take any questions on the subject. On the other hand, of course, it is always possible for you to move that it be left on the table. It's open for you to do that. I won't make that decision, but it's open for you to do that. And if it's seconded, then we'll discuss it and vote on it. But I don't intend to take that step. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them, because, as I say, I was quite closely involved with the Mayor as he developed this. I'm sorry, Councillor, are you pondering or?
Oh, no, you've given your answer to my question,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. So I think, well, sorry, we've got Evelyn.
Kia ora, e te kora matua tuarua. In part, Alex has already addressed one of the concerns that I was going to raise, because I too noticed that she was referred to in here as the LGNZ link without any justification in terms of decisions made by this table. But I have another question, and that is that because the Koromata was actually on leave, the rather important matter of leading on CCTV remains unaddressed for a month. Now, because it's so critical, I think that this needs to be addressed, and I recognise that it is only for an interim measure, but we cannot actually, I think, leave that conversation unled for that period of time. So I draw it to the attention of the table.
Thank you, Leslie.
Point of
You're
order.
addressing the same point?
Point of order, Mr Chair. Yes, I was going to address the same point and say my assumption was as the acting mayor you took over all mayoral responsibilities during this leave of absence period.
Yes, so you're quite right, it naturally falls to me. So Evelyn, if you're happy with that.
I just felt that it needed to be commented on out loud.
I appreciate it because I hadn't noticed it, so I appreciate the point.
Mr Chair, point of order.
Yes,
I'm
Maria.
merely seeking clarification. So on Councillor Soper's point of order, does that mean that delegated authority has been reassigned back over to you while the mayor's away?
Ria,
Just
all
so-
of
just
the, when
clarification.
the mayor's away on sick leave, basically all of his delegated powers fall to me.
Okay, thank you, Mr Chair. I was just asking
Yeah,
for clarification.
Thank you. Is that correct? Right. Okay. Grant?
Yeah, just with respect to Alex's point, so my thought would be that it is important for our governance to be linked into local government New Zealand. So noting, obviously that it's not appointed by this council, but it still plays, in my mind, an important part to the governance of this council in terms of our linkage through to LG New Zealand. So
I wonder, Alex, if rather than remove it completely, because I do take Grant's point, otherwise it would be missing completely, would it be worth putting in brackets, note that that appointment was made by LGNZ or some words like that?
Yep, that would satisfy the point. It was just that none of these discussions were made with, were had with me at all, that they were made in isolation with, it appears to be, a small select few of the mayor's more closely aligned colleagues. And then to have it listed as though it was something that he's pointed as of right, I got a little bit of a fright at, because it gives the appearance that he's put me there effectively, when really that's not actually the process. It's not something that we have control over. I'm more than happy to have it there that it's a national appointment, or it's appointed nationally or elected nationally.
So
But
how,
rather than
yeah.
this council doesn't actually have any jurisdiction over whether or not it's me or who it is that's appointed to National Council or
So would you be
any
more
committee.
comfortable then if we put after LGNZ link brackets, note this is nationally appointed?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So captured that. Okay, so any other comments? Yes, Peter.
Yeah, on page 99, I think it is, Mr Chair, 5.5, age concern. It's got me there as appointed council representative of age concern, and Councillor Stewart as the alternate. I've mentioned this many times in the past. The City Council do not have an appointee on age concern Southland.
Right.
Many years ago they did. I pointed it out at the start of the term to Mayor Clark and a previous council to the CEO and Tim Shadbolt at the time, but no one seems to take any notice of what I'm saying. But if the CEO would like to confirm that with the manager of Age Concern South, and once upon a time we did, but it was changed in about 2010 or thereabouts.
Well, that's only 14 years, Peter, to be fair.
So I am a member of Age Concern Southland, but I've been there since the last century. And I have been appointed by council. I turn up there because I am on the board there. clarification, I suggest that the CE.
I think that, so would you remove it completely?
Yes,
So let's remove it completely. Okay. So we have the recommendations. There's no other. No. We, okay. No to approve. Oh really? Okay.
Thank you. Through yourself, Chair. I was just going to highlight that this particular paper is noting what the Mayor is putting forward. The subsequent paper, which is around the governance statement, is actually where the adoption and the approval of those particular roles sit and portfolios, noting that that will also need to, the comment in relation to the LGNZ one should be removed in relation to the delegations register, but it's a noting on here, not actually approving those roles. So you'll approve them in the next paper.
Okay. Thank you. Other Michael, you want to comment on that number 2?
Perfect. Michael has explained.
So but it is still
No,
notes.
it's still notes.
Ah, okay, thank you. So we have the recommendations. All of them are received and notes. None of them are for approval. So will someone move those? Thank you, Grant. Seconded by Trish. Any other comments or discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you.
Against, can you record?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you? I never noticed your hand. I apologise, Councillor. And you want it noted? Thank you. So now we go to the Local Government New Zealand 4-monthly report. And do we have Susan Freeman Green online?
She should be just about to join us, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Susan.
Yes.
Hello. Well, we can hear you good.
Afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me all right? I'm on my phone, which I hope is okay sound-wise for you.
Okay. So, Susan, we have the Local Government New Zealand 4-monthly report in front of us. I did ask Alex Crackett if she'd just want to say something on the subject before I turn to you and have you speak to that. Alex?
Lovely.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Really just to introduce our CEO, Susan Freeman Green. We made a resolution last month that we were excited about continuing our relationship with Local Government New Zealand, and that we wanted more regular contact with Local Government New Zealand for them to give us more regular updates, and this is LGNZ making good on that promise. So really it's over to you, Susan.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for having us here. And we're very, me or member of the team are really happy and able to join you at any stage at any of these meetings. The 4-monthly report, which is a bit more of an in-depth dive into some of the work we're doing on your behalf, is quite a good time to do that, because really what I would love from you is to have any questions. Just generally, some recent milestones for us, which I'm sure you have captured in there, that we have launched the electoral reform group, which Mayor Nick Smith from Nelson is leading. He spent a lot of time on the Justice Select Committees thinking about electoral reform, 4-year terms, so he's a good person to be leading that. We have been in front of select committees in a range of places in the last week or so, from fast track bill to just yesterday, water services. We've got a lot of, we're having some really quick turnarounds on submissions, which I'm sure you are noticing. So we're still trying really hard to get our submissions out to councils early so that you can either use it or support it or ignore it as you choose. But what we are finding is that that's working pretty well, even with the short time frames. I think we had a large number of councils who came back to us and said, we're just literally going to support what we had said around the water services delivery piece. lot of member feedback is driving the new Zooms we're having, particularly around sovereign citizens and some vexatious requests. I just want to acknowledge, you know, we're all you understand your particular context, and I just want to acknowledge that for you all. On our Zooms in our corner, we did a bit of a tabulation the other day that, you know, we have invested so far over the last 18 months, just beginning to really reflect in terms of its value. About $700,000, like it would cost a council $700,000 to replicate what we've done, used internal resources and that's, but to replicate those workshops. So the next iteration, next modules in that are still coming off the press. So we're seeing increasing member engagement into that. It's accessible to all members, which is good. And then coming up in our theme of the rates rise toolkit, which we've been pretty strong on, we're releasing some research in July on the cost of unfunded mandates and the cost of reform, constantly changing reform on local government, all the things that, you know, you have your LTPs, do your LTPs and then something else comes up from government that you haven't factored into your LTPs. Sam and I are visiting councils, we're continuing our road show, and we are finding that a lot of councils are really grappling with the uncertainty around the upcoming reform, around water services, around how to deal with different mandates that come from government without the funding. So that's just a whistle-stop tour through some of the things that are coming up, but we're really happy I'm really happy, and Alex might support, to answer any questions you've got about the 4-monthly report or anything else.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Susan. We do have some questions, I think, so Councillor Pottinger, I'll take you first.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Susan. My name is Councillor Ian Pottinger. Look, what I want to ask you is about the advocacy and zero in on productive land classification restrictions. Now, this is an obvious impact to urban growth, but more importantly to me, it's an impact on industrial growth. Now, this came in 2022, and instead of being a case-by-case selective tool to help market gardening or whatever, it's now a very blunt resource management tool. So where are you guys in trying to get some sense out of this and allow councils to actually grow and manage their patch?
Yeah, well, the whole resource management reform is in a challenging place, but what I would really like to do is have one of our team who's an expert on this area actually talk to you specifically about this issue and look at how we can support you in this particular piece of advocacy or provide more information on that.
I guess it's not supporting us, it's getting these rules
Yeah.
changed. It's you talking
Yeah.
to central government. But our councils, it's going to make it difficult for you, obviously, if there are councils that aren't united on getting this changed. So
Yeah, well, yes, and I guess, you know, that is a challenge for us if we have councils that you know, we've seen this in a number of areas. We have a number of councils that support one initiative and others that don't for different reasons, because local, not one size fits all. But it would be really good on this particular topic to actually have one of our expert members of the team talk to you about that and potentially provide some more feedback on how other councils are feeling that. So to have one of the members of the team who's dealing in the resource management reform just generally and the drivers and the imperatives there talk to you on that specific issue. So if I can get someone to give you, to contact you via Alex after this meeting, I think that would be a really useful thing to do.
that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Susan, for that offer. I'm certainly take you up on it. Grant.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Hi, Susan, Grant Dermody here. Thank you for making yourself available to come to this meeting. Just on page 30 in your report, Mayor Neil Holdham's meeting or Zoom meeting he had on the 6th of June around measuring council's collective scale and impact. What are the next steps, and when would we expect to see that data in terms of the comparison across the councils around operating efficiency and things like that?
Well, the data will depend and hopefully be easy to flow out of the LTP data. So lots of councils are still in the final stages of that. So we want to get that, the LTPs finished and then get that through. So part of the reason for his Zoom was to socialise the idea, show what we're looking at collecting so that we can then collect it and do that relatively simply. So we've got some of the team working on that. In terms of time frames, I'll come back to you on exactly how long we think that will take to actually pull together. First part is with councils, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kia ora, Susan. My question is also under the advocacy work program. And recently in the media, there's been a lot of concerns about the fast track amendment bill. And those concerns have been quite huge, and they've been from Māori and non-Māori organisations, that this bill seeks to override environmental protections, obligations under Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and public participation on projects affecting our communities. So in terms of LGNZ and advocacy and being at the select committee, how would you see this fast track bill and advocating on behalf of councils?
Yeah, well, we basically said, and you can see our submission on this, is that, while we understand some of the drivers, that there are some aspects of it that concern us a lot, and some of those, it's about getting the balance right, isn't it? And, with some process concerns around things like, we understand that the government is keen to move things fast and to shift the dial on this, but some of the things around where is the environment in the discussion, and there have been some calls around the Environment Minister being part of the group. There's lots of people have raised issues around who's on that panel of deciders. Also whether or not this is time bound, because if it's going to happen, we would like to see some time bound limitation on it, and the pieces you talk about in terms of the balance and the challenges around that.
Thank you.
Susan, question from me. It seems to me that successful advocacy is about choosing, 4, 5, 6 things rather than 40 things, because otherwise, obviously, it just gets lost in the grass.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied that there is sufficient? I know the word unity is wrong. Sufficient agreement amongst councils about what those 4, 5 or 6 things should be?
Well, we thought quite a lot about this, and so National Council. So first of all, we did the Future by Local Government consensus work last year, where we had in 2 meetings invited every elected member. Obviously, not all come, but then also gave every elected member the opportunity to contribute to our surveys around what we will take forward for the future, like what are the number 1 pieces of advocacy around the recommendations for the future by local government. That's the starting point. And as a result of that, we decided we would only progress or have mandate to progress from that report things where there was 75% agreement amongst members. From that, we've used quite a lot of that to inform our advocacy, and we have developed, National Council has agreed, and we've also talked to members at a combined sector meeting about their priorities around 5 targeted specific advocacy priorities, as well as our broader ones. So if I start with the targeted ones, one is a toolbox approach to funding and financing. On Sam and and Sam's and my visits to councils, this is the thing that comes up in every single council meeting, that we don't have the right tools, that the discrepancy between council rates, tax take, and government's tax take is too large, and we can't deal with all the infrastructure requirements we have with what we have and some of the other work. So toolbox approach to funding and financing is number one. 4-year term for local government came up a lot. We've asked the government about this because we think the government could actually make local government a 4-year term, where they could actually do that legislatively. They don't want to do that. They want to do it aligned to central government changing as well. And that's why we've got Nick Smith pushing into that area. He's also really interested in participation, because if you don't have decent participation, councils lose the mandate. So that's the second targeted priority. Third is around changes to regulatory impact statements. So we are wanting to see legislation consider the impacts of its decisions on local government, and to be looking at that up front. That goes to the unfunded mandate piece. At fourth, the development of a framework around city regional deals, and we released a proposal on that in May, which has been publicised and circulated. And the fifth targeted priority is around the Māori ward referendum requirements, which 53 in the end, mayors or chairs, signed. The broader advocacy priorities, we've got work plans around each of those. Those relate to funding and financing, again, the broader piece, water, resource management reform, transport, and climate change. So you are right, focus helps. So having National Council and then the members tell us what's most important has really helped. We also have our remits, which come to us in the AGM, which we are in the process of looking at now, what we're finding, and we're really interested in the AGM prioritising those as well, the ones that haven't already turned into BAU, or we haven't completed, or haven't lapsed. But we take a multi-pronged approach to advocacy, so it is engaging with central government, it's understanding what our members are telling us, and wanting us to emphasise, and also sometimes change, like having our communities understand the pressures councils are under. So that's driven a large part of our work around the rates rises, to have communities understand that the drivers for these, are environmental. They're not things that are unique to Invercargill or the far north. Some of the big ticket items like costs, inflation, interest, debt servicing, and so forth are writ large on all of you.
Well, look, I appreciate that. Ian, have you got another question?
Yeah, look, just an opportunity to plug for our neighbouring cousins in Queenstown. These are easy runs to get on the board. A bed tax for Queenstown now. That is the most obvious cure for their rating problem up there and their shortfalls with the amount of tourists. How come it's taking so long to get something that seems so sensible in?
Well, yeah, no. So what we do know that the Minister Ducey, is seriously thinking about that. We know that in the city regional deal space, the coalition government is looking at a range of funding and financing levers, possibly more on the financing side than the funding side. We know that there's more interest in, we know there's more interest in new growth in terms of things like EST return. New growth is more likely to be supported in terms of incentives. A bed tax, congestion charges is another thing that some councils are really wanting. Mineral royalties is another thing that councils are talking about. So we're doing some work on all those pieces and putting pressure on those in every way.
But I
yes,
guess, sorry to interrupt, but this is just a real easy one with, say, 25,000 residents and 30,000 tourists using the infrastructure that these people have to pay for.
It feels really easy, doesn't it? And we make that point, but it's never as easy because you've got some councils that want to do it a different way. You've got the Tourism Industry Association thinking about how can it go straight to councils? Some councils want to use accommodation type charging to build infrastructure, like Queenstown, or supportive infrastructure. Some want to use it for promotion. So, but it's got to be in the mix.
Thank you. Susan, that was a very, very helpful session. Is the intention to do this every 4 months, or?
We have an open invitation to do it every 4 months, if you would find that useful.
Well, I've certainly found it useful. I mean, I suppose you might tire of it after a few years, but I certainly found it useful today. And looking around the table, there's enough people nodding that I think we would certainly welcome you back in 4 months' time.
Lovely. Very happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
So, we are asked to receive that report. Will somebody move that, please? Okay, thank you, Leslie, and seconded by Ria. Any other discussion? Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. And that takes us through to tab 10, which is in Michael Morrissey's name, and is amendments to the governance statement for 2022 to 2025. And Michael, I think, is mainly those changes which result from the midterm review. Would that be correct? But anyway, the floor is yours. Speak to them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, look, that is broadly the intention of this paper, is to give effect to and for Council to formally adopt those changes. By adopting the governance statement, that is what you are doing. It's also taking into account some comments made about the governance statement from last time, specifically from Reverend Cook. So those changes have been incorporated into the governance statement, and we'll also note the changes requested by Councillor Crackett earlier today and Councillor Kett from the earlier session. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one further amendment that the resolution around Connected Murihiku Joint Committee was appointing Councillor Broad as the appointee and myself as the alternate. It's just listed that we're both members there, so just if we could have it as listing as the alternate. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you.
Did you get that? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so we are asked to receive, note, adopt. So we might take all of them at the same time, I think. There's no reason to split up. Sorry, Michael.
Can we just get the words added, just because you've discussed amendments through the course of just that piece there, and just note that in the recommendations that adopt subject to the amendments discussed in the meeting. So
Okay.
just adding those words in.
Does that go, which number does that
Just
go into?
looking at Michael to see if he can get those added for us into the right section.
Go to number 4 and number 5, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, does everybody get what we're making a change at the moment? We'll just wait till the words are added. Yes, Trish.
At the Community Fund review meeting today, we decided to meet 5 times a year, not every 2 months. So on page, that's just happened today, or it may happen. It's got to go to the council yet, but it might need to be considered in this or not.
Well, I'll take advice. I would have thought you could have met as often as you wanted, actually. Michael's looking the other way.
So is this in relation to the meeting schedule?
Yes, so it says every 2 months, and today we decided to do it 5 times a year.
Right. So,
That still has to go to the council to be ratified, I imagine, but
Yes.
it says on page 20.
Oh, it does.
yeah. So that will need to come back up to
Okay.
council. Once it's ratified, then we'll make those consequential changes.
Thanks very much.
So they are all now changed. S- So is everybody comfortable with the words up there? Did we have a ready help move for a second? No. So will someone move all of those? Okay, thanks, Grant. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Barry. Is there any other discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, sorry, okay.
I've got to be consistent.
Yep, no, quite right. Okay, thank you.
Can't have, not have that.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, that takes us to tab 11.
Excuse me to interrupt. Just want to be courteous. People will look at me. I'm Nobby's younger brother, as you can see. I'd just like to thank those councillors that supported in this time of need. I think it's very important to acknowledge and thank you very much. Thank you. I'm just working here for contact.
And I can see is that a defibrillator you're carrying with you?
Big button.
Is that a defibrillator?
It will be.
Oh,
No, it's not. It's not that sick. I'm here for the concert. Wonderful concert you've got at your town hall. But
okay.
thank you anyway.
Nice to see you, mate. Cheers. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the draft statement of intent for the Invercargill City Charitable Trust. So if we move to that, and that's in, is that in your, oh no, it's in Michael's name again.
My name again,
Okay.
but I may pass to Patricia for any more technical questions on that. So as you are aware, the Invercargill City Charitable Trust is a council-controlled organisation, is required to present its statement for intent for comment. It has been presented this time round. It is slightly late, but there's very little that has changed for ICCT. Its key asset remains the rugby park stadium, and work continues on that transition. And probably with that, I will pass over to Patricia because I see she has positioned a microphone.
Yes, I have. Afternoon, councillors. There's just one little aspect I'd like to add in this. And actually, between putting this onto the agenda and us preparing the paper for the adoption of the long-term plan on Thursday, we've discussed with ICCT whether they would want to be exempted from being a CCO, which would mean they would no longer need to provide a statement of intent. And that will be coming to you to adopt on Thursday. So I'm wondering whether this is perhaps, I'll go back to Michael now, who may not have quite caught up, Mr Morris, on this one about whether it's best to leave this on the table or whether there is any feedback back to ICCT on what they had in their statement of intent.
Based on that and the hope that it's going to be exempted, I would probably suggest it can be left on the table and resurrected on Thursday if needed.
Okay, do we need to move that?
No.
Okay.
Oh, it's probably best if it's moved to be left on the table subject until Thursday's extraordinary.
I'll
Okay.
move that's left on the table.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you, and Grant has seconded it. In terms of discussion, only thing I would say, in case anybody's fallen off their chair at home, when we talk about the sale of Rugby Park, it is of course to ourselves. Transfer between the charitable trust and the city itself. So, are there any other discussion or questions? And if not, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And that, I think, ends the public session. Will someone move that we move into public excluded? Thank you, Grant, and seconded by Peter. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. To those of you in live stream, thank you very much for joining us today, but we have to say farewell. Cheers.